Hello, and welcome to today's National Finance Executive International Canada webinar titled Office of the CFO, Leading the Enterprise Transformation Initiative. My name is Muriel Lortie, and I'm a member of the Quebec chapter at FEI Canada. We're pleased to have you with us today and are delighted to have partnered once again with SAP to bring you what we believe to be an extremely timely and informative webinar. As we kick back into fall, FEI has a variety of events over the next few months across all FEI chapters. Different provincial COVID restriction protocols are enabling some chapters to return to in-person events, whereas others are staying with a virtual or hybrid programming format for a little while longer. Before we begin, I'd like to draw your attention to the question box feature on the top right of your screen, where we encourage everyone to submit questions during the presentation, and we'll do our best to address as many as we can during the presentation. I'd now like to introduce today's first speaker, Gillian McGrath. Gillian is a director at SAP Canada within the S4 Finance Centre of Excellence. She has extensive experience in the financial service industry, having worked directly with Canada's largest financial service organizations. Gillian has demonstrated expertise in sales, pre-sales, and has supported SAP customers in the space of intelligent spend management. She has a focus on core finance, accounting, treasury, and GRC. I'd now like to pass it over to Gillian to begin the conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Muriel, and thank you to FEI for your partnership today with SAP. I'm going to jump right into the agenda here. And first, I'll be providing a very quick overview of just why this topic is so important today and why we really need to be talking about finance transformations in today's environment. Then we're going to be jumping into the modern financial platform, discussing key drivers for CFOs and how SAP's S/4HANA has really helped our customers to be pushing these drivers forward. Then I'm very excited. We have individuals from SAP, Illumiti, and Tomlinson Group that are going to be joining me for a fireside chat. And finally, we will try to keep 10 minutes at the end open for audience questions. So as Muriel said, please do enter them into the chat and we will address them towards the end. So now I'll introduce the rest of our speakers for today. So joining me is my colleague Sandra Perkins from SAP. Sandra is a director in the S/4HANA Finance and Risk Center of Excellence. Sandra has extensive experience in working with some of Canada's largest multinationals, and she also has experience in pre-sales, consulting, and has worked directly with customers in supporting their SAP environments. I'm also joined by Christopher Flann, the CFO of Tomlinson Group, and Daniel Kosis, who is a an SAP program and project manager with Illumiti. And Christopher and Daniel will be joining us a little bit later for the fireside discussion. So let's dive right in. I would like to start off from hearing directly from you from the audience with one of our first polling questions and taking a look at seeing, what does a finance transformation mean to your organization today? So we'll pull up that first polling question here. So we'll give you about 30 seconds to fill this out. So are you looking to transform your finance organization today, and how so? So is this currently a priority for your organization? Are you changing some areas such as, say, treasury, and you're open to learning more about other areas such as billing or the financial close? Would you like someone from SAP to reach out to you to learn a little bit more? Or is this not necessarily a priority at this time for your organization? Okay, so it looks like we have a mixed bag of answers here. So the majority of people are undergoing a transformation, some focusing on some areas over others, but it looks like most of our audience today, this is, a very big topic of interest for you. All right, so let's dive in then. The events in the first half of 2020 really shed light on the underinvestment in systems and processes within many organizations. And these processes really support a company's ability to be adapting and reacting quickly to these unexpected challenges. Now, in addition to the pandemic, I would really say that the past few years, we've experienced a lot of different pressures. So different geopolitical changes. We are dealing with a very fast-paced and changing regulatory landscape, an evolving workforce, and a digitized economy. So companies and their leaders need to be dealing with these changes all the time. And I would say that what's different today versus if we were to look backwards, say 5-10 years, is really the acceleration of change forced by this global reach and this very unprecedented disruption. So what does resilience mean for a company in the face of accelerated disruption? We've really broken it down into 3 key stages. The first response for any company is simply to survive. So whether this is maintaining liquidity, cutting costs, reevaluating resources, you need to be able to ensure business resilience. Second is to be preparing for that recovery and utilizing what we might consider to be a bit of a downtime. So utilize this time not only to be considering your key stakeholders in those relationships, but also be thinking critically about, say, your product portfolio, the operations, or even your entire financial supply chain. And then lastly is that CFOs, no matter what situation we're in, they need to be focused on executing growth and need to continue to push forward to increase market share. Now, as digitization has accelerated everywhere, CFOs really need to be the individuals driving that business model innovation forward across the enterprise. They're really at the center of all decisions, especially with these uncharted business forces that we now have rising. So without an agile finance and risk foundation of systems and processes, the chances of other parts of the business, whether it is sales or supply chain, the chances of those LOBs excelling in this environment is really going to become nearly impossible. So this really brings us to our main topic for today, which is using technology and advancements for a modern financial platform and how CFOs can be helping to accelerate these business model innovations and transformations. So with that, I will pass things over to my colleague, Sandra, to jump into the modern financial platform. Thank you.
Thanks, Jillian. So yes, let's have a discussion around the modern financial platform. So I'd like to start off today with a question. How many of us are seeing significant changes in our business today? If I could guess, I would say almost everyone here. Steering your business begins and ends with a vision, strong leadership, clarity into measurable performance, and the ability to act in the moment. As a finance professional, your finance teams have lived the long nights gathering and translating data into insight and analysis while meeting tight deadlines. As a result, you not only can describe what happened in your business, but also have a deep understanding of how systems and processes work, and also what does not work. Finance departments are uniquely positioned to drive change within the organization due to their knowledge and insight across all areas of business. And the CFO is faced with consequential issues to navigate this new world. How do we maintain business infrastructure and operations? How do we unlock potential opportunities? How do we adapt to the new marketplace? Resilient companies will survive, but will have to adapt quickly by embracing innovation, agility, and simplicity, and the ability of the CFO to have real-time data to steer the organization is more important than ever before. CFOs today have a common view of challenges and priorities, including supporting strategy, delivering insights rather than just data, managing risk while ensuring effective compliance, and doing all these things in the most cost-efficient way possible. While finance itself continues to modernize, its impact on the broader company ecosystem plays a much larger role in the success of the company and impacting areas like supply chain, human resources, capital investments, risk, liquidity, and as the purveyor of insight to other organizational leaders. It's well established that the modern CFO has a very strategic role to play in a business. The finance function is the custodian of a clear, quantitative expression of management expectations. It determines how resources such as cash and people will be allocated in order to achieve these expectations. There's a study here with a survey of 800 CFOs, and these 4 drivers, strategy, insights, compliance risk, and managing costs, are identified as what CFOs really care about. In order for the CFO's supporting systems to be able to drive these strategies, they need to be able to deliver agility, analytics, assurance, and automation like never before. The finance function is the gatekeeper for critical data that illustrate how well, or otherwise, the company is rising to the challenge of change. And if a CFO is able to deliver on these 4 key pillars of intelligent finance, they will be able to further drive strategy and insights. Now let's take a look at the business drivers for an intelligent finance transformation. A recent survey of 800 CFOs and senior finance executives showed that managing unexpected changes to financial forecasts and adapting finance processes to rapidly evolving business models are top of mind today. 90% of senior finance executives believing that finance should drive collaborative enterprise planning to ensure alignment with both financial and strategic plans. Roughly 1/2 want greater involvement in cybersecurity risk activities, and the majority of senior finance executives want to use time freed up through automation to focus the finance department on more advanced financial activities. Today's CFOs need data-driven insight to enable fact-based strategy and steering. They need to effectively adapt to new business models, and they will be expected to know the business impact of changes such as M&A and organizational restructuring. To increase trust and stakeholder confidence, a CFO must always have a holistic view of risk and have the tools at hand to actively monitor compliance, controls, and to detect anomalies within the data. The finance organization today must focus on automation and redesigning of processes to reduce manual workloads and leverage intelligent innovations in finance processes to increase productivity, deliver predictive analysis and scenario planning options, and to provide the insight to drive fast decision-making while unleashing business renewal. So what did the analysts say about transformation? Well, according to MIT Sloan, technical debt is hindering needed digital initiatives, adding unneeded costs, and diverting investment away from innovation. McKinsey & Company view technology as a key blocker to a company's need to invest in new business models, to reinvent themselves, and for finance to lead by example when it comes to automation. And finally, the Hackett Group views emerging technology as a disruptor and driver for companies to modernize their existing platforms.
Okay, so we're going to jump into our second polling question here. And this second question is about the challenges facing your finance team and your finance organization. So we'll give about 20-30 seconds here to answer the question. So are the challenges around GRC and managing compliance, managing privacy and cybersecurity issues? Is it about providing that real-time insights to the business for reporting and for decision making? Is it about providing all of that information to other lines of business? So we'll give you about 10 more seconds here. Oh, perfect, thank you. Okay, so it looks like for the majority of folks in the audience, it's about providing the right insights to the business in real time. And this is something that in our next portion here, when Sandra's talking about S/4HANA Finance, that I hope is really evident to you, and what is one of the biggest benefits of S4 is that for these companies that have moved to become extremely lean, they are just bursting with information and data all at their fingertips in real time. So Sandra, I will pass it back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jillian. So why SAP S/4HANA Finance and Risk? SAP S/4HANA supports live business for all roles of the Office of the CFO. SAP's digital business framework helps SAP customers solve complexity and transition issues they are facing in their journey into the digital economy as a live business. Digital finance is the power plant that drives the digital ERP core, bringing together transactions and insights, serving as the platform for innovation and business process optimization to allow the entire value chain to be digitized. Using the new finance digital capabilities of S/4HANA, customers can anticipate business outcomes and reimagine business processes to accelerate their transition to a live business. Every company can develop digital strategy across these 5 pillars of outcome-based customer experience, replatforming of core business processes and bringing together business process and analytics in real time, smarter and engaged workforce across all employees and contractors, supplier collaboration to accelerate growth innovation, and harness the Internet of Things and big data to drive real-time insights and new business models. SAP S/4 is the digital core powered by SAP digital finance capabilities. It allows customers to scale their digital transformations across the entire enterprise. SAP has the broadest and most mature finance and risk portfolio in the marketplace. SAP S/4HANA enables today's digital business by bringing business processes and analytics together in a single, smooth digital motion. SAP S/4HANA provides the foundation for continuous improvement by allowing customers to benefit from the newest innovations as they emerge, along with the ability to leverage extended finance for procurement, workforce management, travel and expense, and so forth. SAP is helping CFOs and other financial professionals drive real value in their finance transformation and system enhancement initiatives. The value levers are both quantitative and strategic. Most quantitative benefits focus on cost saving, as well as IT landscape and process simplification. On the other hand, the strategic benefits are equally, if not more important, when it comes to steering the business and adding value to other lines of business. There are also significant benefits from finance transformation, delivering more agility and analytics to help steer the business and capitalize on shifting market trends. Finance is always focused on running the business and executing operational tasks, but nowadays this is not what's expected from the business anymore. Business expects finance to deliver the necessary insights for decision making. In order to free up time, operational tasks cannot just be abandoned, of course. They need to be executed, but the purpose is to automate. It's not about reducing the headcounts, but getting rid of the repetitive jobs while shaping them into new, innovative, and valuable roles, like big data or market analysts, simulation and prediction experts, business strategy experts, and so on. What we see confirmed by multiple studies of organizations that are moving in the direction of automation of operational tasks with a focus on delivering the right insights is that mostly insights delivered look back at the past, or in other terms, we're reporting on actuals. That's interesting, of course, but tells us little about the future. And as the past cannot be changed, everyone is convinced about the fact that more effort should be spent on forward-looking insights. In order to focus more on forward-looking insights and transforming these actionable classic reporting activities, they need to be made more efficient. And this is where advanced analytics come in, including predictive analytic capabilities, smart alerting, and embedded reporting abilities within S/4HANA. Here we can see actual examples of quantitative and strategic improvements our customers have achieved by adopting SAP S/4 Finance. These statistics have come directly from SAP performance benchmarking surveys of adopters that have moved from traditional ERP to SAP S/4HANA. It starts with automated alerting. Here we can analyze, but this is not where the work stops. The purpose is to optimize the situation so we can simulate potential solutions and act. This can be analyzed by any business activity in real time, down to the individual transaction on any dimension and across all entities. Organizations can then identify root causes for specific trends and from there make the right decision in the moment instead of just at month end. Traditional financial systems cannot support the digital enterprise. Initially, there was a single GL, then subledgers were added, material ledger, asset accounting, then additional ledgers for reporting such as management accounting and profitability analysis. This all required data to be moved between ledgers, which required reconciliation, which leads to lost granularity, visibility, and detail. In turn, there was a loss of flexibility and replication due to aggregation. All of this makes it difficult to move processes to a digital economy. With SAP S/4HANA Finance, the Universal Journal is a single table source of truth, which has eliminated the need for replications and reconciliations and have removed the rigid reporting structures. Now all information is at the granular level, which allows flexibility and real-time analytics, moving finance from analog to digital processes. Now, it's worth pausing for a moment to think about how work routines could benefit from this change of data platform. Perhaps it would be a P&L statement that corresponds exactly with detailed profitability reporting, or the ability to access asset and inventory details by drilling down instead of jumping to a separate subledger. S/4HANA is helping to reduce the repetitive tasks and freeing you and your team up to do more advanced and progressive activities. This illustrates the value of SAP S/4HANA Finance solution that is transforming finance in the digital economy. From finance day-to-day operations through to treasury, close operations, financial planning and analysis, and enterprise risk and compliance. And illustrated here is the entire holistic view of the SAP Modern Financial Platform that takes finance into the digital age so you can grow and innovate. This includes core ERP processes as well as a fully integrated portfolio of solutions supporting all roles across finance, risk, and tax. You gain an exhaustive view of your business whenever you need to take a decision and the power to act instantly on the insights you glean. S/4HANA not only delivers the functional completeness across the office of the CFO, but it is a modern financial system that allows you to deploy specific capabilities you need based on your timeline and budget. The SAP S/4HANA system provides foundational automation and process improvements across all accounting functions, as well as embedded analytics and security. With this foundation, you can also choose additional capabilities to deploy within S/4HANA across all finance, GRC, and cybersecurity functions. There is significant business value for finance professionals when moving to S/4HANA. Some of the key benefits for finance include the new intuitive assist user interface, which simplifies and enhances the user experience, embedded reporting and analytics, and many other benefits of which include predictive accounting, which enables future fact-based decision-making, advanced compliance reporting, and margin analysis that delivers continuous, high granular analytics of margin. The next generation finance for the CFO with SAP S/4 will enable unprecedented views of profitability, delivering more agility and forward-thinking analytics. This will help steer the business and capitalize on shifting market trends while strengthening working capital, freeing up more time to spend on investment and lower associated IT costs. Intelligent enterprises apply advanced technologies and best practices within agile, integrated business processes to run at their best. At SAP, we are enabling our customers to become intelligent enterprises by integrating data and processes, building flexible value chains, innovating with industry best practices, understanding and acting on customer, partner, and employee sentiment, and managing environmental impact to enable our customers to grow more resilient, more profitable, and more sustainable. SAP S/4 will change the way you run your business by delivering 360-degree cockpit and analytical views, embedded analytics by prediction simulation, thus enabling real-time decision-making, role-based applications for user task-related optimization for reducing non-value added activities, device-independent use anywhere, anytime, and state-of-the-art machine learning capabilities. Here's just a quick example of the General Ledger Overview dashboard. It's not static, and the data is not copied, duplicated, or aggregated. You can see real-time transaction data, and right from here, you can drill down to the transaction level. At the core of the S4 user experience is SAP Fiori. This sets the standard for enterprise user experience by removing unnecessary complexity. We put users in control of their business tasks by giving them only what they really need. This core goal is reflected in 5 design principles: role-based, adaptive, coherent, simple, and delightful. You could also describe delightful as providing immediate value or a pleasure to work with, just what I need when I need it. One ingredient to the intelligent ERP is automation, which is powered by artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and a system that learns and adapts to user actions. Some of SAP's intelligent technologies supporting Office of the CFO include process and predictive analytics, allowing you to identify sweet spots for automation and predict future results. Ready-to-use intelligent applications that natively inject intelligence into core finance processes. They focus on automating a particular process or part of the process and are seamlessly integrated. Intelligent RPA lets you build and orchestrate your own bots, which can accelerate the process automation. And SAP's goal is to automate over 50% of the redundant tasks in current ERP processes in the next 3 years. SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation offers an innovative solution that includes these 4 components: recording of the process steps. We then build bots and add skills, run the bots, and continuous monitoring to ensure efficiencies. Some of the capabilities include out-of-the-box automation with pre-built bots for SAP products and integration for the S4 Intelligence Suite, where an organization can design and deploy robots across systems and deployments. SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation provides traditional RPA capabilities paired with tight process integration capabilities to accelerate digital transformation and automate repetitive tasks in business processes. Some of the key benefits include reducing repetitive and manual activities, which brings a new level of operational speed and efficiency to respond to business needs by proactively and augmenting resources to address more high-value tasks. And RPA cuts across organizational barriers while driving optimal process models for maximum efficiency and taking advantage of intelligent bots to make more intelligent decisions.
Okay, so this brings us to our next polling question, which is all about those intelligent technologies that Sandra just reviewed. So how is your finance organization leveraging intelligent finance technology today? And so this can cover machine learning, artificial intelligence, RPA, so robotic process automation. So we'll just give you about 20 more seconds to vote here. Okay. All right. So it looks like for the majority, not currently leveraging a lot of intelligent technology. And I would say that, is something common that we do hear from our new SAP customers. But that is, something that would be a part of any conversation that you would have with SAP and in any discovery when you're discussing finance and risk. All right, Sandra, back to you.
Thanks, Jillian. SAP S/4HANA is the technology that supports the evolution of finance function today and into the future. SAP has an award-winning user experience and cloud innovation platform. We have the highest coverage for language and specific regulatory requirements. and SAP offers the broadest industry coverage and best practices. With a global network of customers, partners, and employees, SAP helps the world run better and improve people's lives. As an SAP customer, you are in good company. We have over 440,000 customers. 77% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system. SAP customers represent 92% of the Forbes Global 2000 companies. Our customers distribute more than 78% of the world's food and 82% of the world's medical devices. 80% of our customers are small and mid-sized enterprises using SAP software to solve business challenges. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to turn it back over to Jillian to introduce our next segment and fireside chat with our special guests. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra. Okay, so I am very excited here for our next 20 or so minutes together. So in addition to having Sandra join us, as I mentioned, we have two more guests with us today. So Christopher Flann is joining us from Tomlinson Group. Christopher has been the CFO at Tomlinson for 10 years now. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Tomlinson is a major privately held Ottawa-based infrastructure company. Prior to Tomlinson, Christopher spent 15 years in waste management in senior financial positions across Canada. So Christopher is really bringing us a huge wealth of knowledge today as a business leader. We're also joined by Daniel Kosis. Daniel is an SAP program project manager with Illumiti. Daniel has over 30 years of experience helping companies transform their businesses by leveraging various SAP technologies. And Daniel has spent the last 5 years working as project manager with Tomlinson and helping them through their S/4HANA journey. So welcome, panelists. Thank you so much for joining today.
Good afternoon.
All right. And I will just say to the audience, please feel free to be entering any questions into the chat here. We're going to go through our fireside chat, but if you do have any questions for any of our panelists, you can enter them in and we will get to them at the end of the discussion. Okay, so to get started, Christopher, I do have a question for you. And it's about, when did Tomlinson begin planning for their finance transformation? And could you provide us with any business pain points that really prompted this to begin?
So our transformation began in the summer of 2012 when I was attending the annual general meeting of our legacy ERP system. At that time, I found out that our ERP system, we were 10 times the size of the sweet spot of that system. And we were the second largest customer internationally that system had. And the largest customer internationally was about to abandon that system. We were spending millions of dollars operating in an environment that was not built for our company. So we knew at that time we had to make a change.
Okay, so it sounds like there were some major red flags then for Tomlinson that prompted this. And this is a project then that began almost 10 years ago for you. Now, Daniel, so you have been, of course, working alongside Tomlinson for about 5 years now. Do any of the pain points that Christopher just discussed really stand out to you? And do you see any commonalities among your other customers that you work with as they approach this need to change?
Absolutely. I would start just by saying, Tomlinson and other companies, they need modern solutions that support their business growth. But as well, they need a platform that's proven and it's stable. So that's what Christopher spoke about is that risk that it presented. You also need a platform that leverages new and emerging technologies. So as we heard from the other presenters, we're in a world of change and we need to adapt all the time. So in my opinion, SAP offers a platform of world-class solutions that offer companies an opportunity to run their business with the best technologies today and in the future, and there's no risk of outgrowing that solution or being left in the past or doing things the old way.
Okay. And I would imagine, Daniel, for a lot of customers and a lot of companies, when we talk about a transformation, it can seem like a very daunting task, like a big overwhelming project. So
Right.
In your opinion, is there a right place to start? And do they tackle this project, one step at a time? And if so, where might they begin?
Good question. So I would start by saying every implementation strategy needs to be personalized for the specific company situation. There's not really one right answer. But what's important is before you charge into your project, you don't skip the project planning and preparation work, because you need to develop that strategy up front that fits your business, and it designs the path of how you're going to transform while also mitigating risk. So at Tomlinson, we chose a stepwise approach to the implementation. We wanted to control the amount of organizational change as well as mitigate risk to the business. So we started off with a small pilot for our first go live, and then we've been rolling out by line of business. Our pilot consisted of single entities within the division. For example, they have quarries, and so we picked one of their quarries as our pilot. They have different manufacturing facilities and sites for concrete. We chose one of those, and then we chose one of several of their construction divisions, and that was what our scope was. So we designed our entire end-to-end solution that we envisioned for the next 5 years based around establishing those core processes. And then we went live with a limited number of users and business volume. But by doing that, in that approach, we also were able to get feedback from our users in real life using that system that we had piloted, and that identified opportunities for us to incrementally add enhancements to the solution over time with the subsequent deployments. So learning from that one quarry and having them use the system for a few months identified opportunities that when we rolled out the other dozen or so quarries, they all benefited from that. So that's the approach we use, but you really need to think about each company and what fits best for them.
Okay, and I mean, that's very insightful, and it does bring me to my next question for Christopher, but I also like, Daniel, what you said about, every company is going to be dealing with their own challenges. They all have very different systems and landscapes. So it's, maybe approaching the project with, I guess, no preconceived notions and an open mind to create the right path for them. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So Christopher, it sounds like a finance transformation is an ongoing project at Tomlinson. And Daniel did allude to some of the stages that you used. In your opinion, what are some of the key milestones that Tomlinson has gone through on this journey?
Well, as I explained earlier, we knew right away that our legacy system couldn't handle our 50 operating units. So we went to SAP, and originally the plan was to implement what I would call the bare bones of SAP. That was a mistake, because we learned very quickly that although the legacy system in the background wasn't working, our customers had a decade's worth of enhancements to that system that made it very user-friendly. Although it wasn't working in the background, it was user-friendly. So when we tried to implement what I would call bare bones SAP, the users immediately found that they were experiencing a service decrease. That made them very unhappy. So we had to reevaluate that and change our position from a bare bones implementation to a more customer service where we weren't going to provide less service than we had before. That added time, complexity, and cost to the project. So we took it one division at a time. We refused to do a big bang implementation. And let me tell you what we've always been able to do. We've always been able to pay our vendors. We have always been able to bill our customers. We have always been able to collect from our customers, and we have never stopped our operations because of this implementation. That was critical to us, and the only way that we could have accomplished that is through a process of slow and steady growth.
Okay. And during this slow and steady growth and looking back, what have been some of the operational benefits that you've experienced since moving to S4?
At the beginning, there weren't very many because we were stuck using a legacy system for most of the business and SAP for a very small part of the business. Once we passed over that halfway mark where half of our company was on SAP, that was about 2 years ago. What we saw was suddenly we were able to make faster decisions. The data was live. It was 3 or 4 days old as opposed to 2 months old. That made a critical difference to job cost evaluation, or even things such as collecting accounts receivable. Using live data really helped, and that in itself helped gain acceptance for the system within our organization.
Perfect. Okay, that's really great insight. Thank you, Christopher. Staying on this theme of benefits, a question for both Daniel and Sandra. I know that you both have fantastic experience with implementations, and I've heard you both share some great customer stories. Could you cite a company that you've helped through their finance transformation, and what did you see as some of the biggest benefits that they reaped? And Daniel, I'll turn to you first.
Okay, I'd like to talk about one of my clients that went through a digital transformation. It was actually a while back, but I think they were leaders in their field when they first implemented SAP. And the transformation really involved eliminating manual paper-based processes to digital real-time data capture and storage to help support decision-making and business process efficiency. So this company is a Toronto area-based engineer-to-order manufacturer in the plastic injection molding industry. And because they're an engineer-to-order company, they have to work with companies, for example, like Ford Motor Company, who wants to build a new car and they're going to have a new bumper on the front of their car. They need a solution to basically injection mold that bumper. So imagine the amount of information and collaboration back and forth between their customers and themselves. They had paper project files with design specifications, quotations, change orders, sales orders, purchase orders, invoices, CAD drawings, all collected together because it was information that formed a project. And so that's what they had to manage in order to run their business. And the way they did it was they had a filing system that was fairly innovative for its time. And it was like a library of rows of shelving. And they would use that to store all their files. What was innovative about it was they would push a button and these rows of files were actually on rails, and it would open itself up to, if you were looking for a customer and it was Ford Motor Company, it would open up to the F. It was all alphabetized. So they actually won an award for that, believe it or not. That's not the innovation or the transformation I'm talking about, but that's where they started, and that was the challenge. So what we did when we implemented SAP is we replaced that concept with a digital folder. So all of that client project data was stored in a DMS connected to SAP, so a document management system, and it was available instantly to end users by anyone that had access and from anywhere. So that resulted in speed to access information, better data security, and elimination of the task of just managing all that paperwork. So in that one go live, that one event, that award-winning file management system managing paper was obsoleted. And they went from good to really next generation. So that's one thing that I just remember from my projects. That was an aha moment for them.
Perfect, thank you. And I'm sure that's, it's probably very relatable to a lot of organizations that are dealing with these manual processes where they think, how could we possibly replace this when we have it so down pat and so tight at this point? So that's a really great example. Yeah. Sandra, did you have a story to share as well?
Yes, I do. The slowdown I'm based out in Western Canada, the slowdown in the oil and gas industry over the past several years spurred one of Canada's largest integrated oil and gas organizations to really transform cost-saving ideas through their business. there was a lack of alignment from supply chain through to accounts payable and other finance functions. And of course, these all contributed to inconsistencies in all the very important procure-to-pay processes and reporting. They started their transformation by selecting S/4HANA Finance as the foundation. Then they started the process of moving away from operational silos. They standardized processes and consistently monitored them against real-time key performance indicators. And of course, there are huge benefits that were reaped from this, including real-time access into invoice and payment status, improvement of online payments, streamlined transactions, and greatly improved spend activities. And this was just one of their first, because it was such a high visibility to try to have these huge cost savings. And they were very successful at it, and they are now moving into into more of the intelligent robotic process automations for their actual field operations. So very, very good success story for us and them. Thanks.
Okay. All right, and we love to talk about success stories. But on that note, I'm wondering if either of you could share maybe a big gotcha that you saw a company experience, or just something common that companies tend to overlook as they begin these digital journeys.
For sure. I'd like to think of these big gotchas and think of them in the sense of critical success factors and turn it around in terms of what are the things you need to get right. So there are many of these, and honestly could talk for a while about it, but I picked two that I think are very important. One is organizational change management. And specifically what I'm talking about in this aspect of change management is aligning people with the new roles and the ways of working. That's really paramount importance. When you move to a modern platform that leverages the latest technology, it's generally a lot easier for the younger generation of users to adapt to that. But it can be a challenge for the veteran, I would say, respectfully, old school, experienced business people. So not everyone responds well to these changes. So you have to deal with that, and you have to have a plan, and it has to be part of your implementation work that you do, not an afterthought. So that involves clear and regular communications, very job role-based hands-on training, and proactive post-go-live support, and continued mentoring. So if you do that, you have to make sure you don't leave your strongest business people behind in your transformation. The second thing that is always a challenge that is critical as well is data migration and conversion of legacy data into your new ERP system or your new platform. So I think we would agree that business information about your customers, your products, your vendors, your inventory, it's really the lifeblood of your business systems. And so it takes a lot of care and effort to make sure accurate information is extracted from your legacy systems, cleansed, loaded, verified for the new system to be operating the way it was expected to work. That data is really the lifeblood of the system. So the old adage still applies, garbage in and garbage out. It was that way 50 years ago, and it will be that way into the future. So I'd say organizational change management and data migration are two big challenges you have to get right and plan to work accordingly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I echo your sentiment there. You see organizations not spending enough time up front cleansing data, archiving the data, reworking old inefficient processes. They just feel that it can be a lift and shift, and it's hard to change that mindset to you have to transform, because even though it worked 10 years ago, it's not working now. It's broken, not keeping up with the newer technologies. And you have to be forward thinking and deploying the best that SAP has to offer. And you alluded to it as well, is keeping your employees informed and knowledgeable at every step of the transformation as well. The employees are really the success in driving the initiative forward. And we found if they're constantly informed and engaged, they're going to be your biggest champions moving forward.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, Sandra. Daniel and Christopher, and Daniel, you talked a lot about mentoring and having the younger generation come into the workforce. For both of you, what type of skills do you think companies should be training for as they're looking to be embracing these new technologies and the digital economy?
The users at Tomlinson are adapting very well, and they're learning how to use the system. That isn't the bigger issue. As we've developed the system over the last 9 years, what we're trying to build is an in-house team of experts who can support it and enhance it going forward. That is a very difficult skill to recruit for. And when we have been successful finding candidates to enter those roles, that's taken upwards of a year to get them. So tough ask to bring it all in-house. And we want to be self-sufficient.
And Daniel, anything to add here?
Yeah, I would focus on, supporting the system to enhance and continually improve it is definitely a skill that a lot of companies choose to try to bring that in-house or partner with others. But in terms of the end users, I would say attracting and mentoring people that embrace technology and are excited by change. So we know rapid change is just a fact of life today. We can't avoid it. It's exponential, which means it increases at a larger rate every year. So hiring people that are flexible, open-minded, and embrace new technology, I think is really important, because what you do today is not what you're going to do 5 years from now. And I would also say it's important that the leadership team within an organization develop a corporate culture that does embrace change versus resist it, because they have to inspire their people and be the leaders to say, we need to change, we need to keep up with the paces and new technologies and ways of working, and drive that message down to the end users. But ultimately, they are the ones that are going to be changing how they work.
So that's, all three of you have definitely echoed each other in that it's really about helping our people to thrive in their day-to-day that is going to have the greater impact on the organization. Since implementing S4 at Tomlinson, and Christopher, you already said that there has been, a positive uptake in terms of user adoption. Has there been, an ease of use when it comes to using Fiori, which is our new UI for your employees and team?
So we've implemented Fiori across the organization. The issue is not the actual usage of the tool, which is very user-friendly. The issue is that prior to the implementation of SAP, we were not requiring the same amount of data to be entered into anything. So it's actually a change in the process that people are resisting. We are a company that is filled with manual laborers who like to build things. They're not necessarily interested in entering information on an iPad. They've gone from a situation where they didn't have to enter any data to now they have to enter a lot of data. That's where there is resistance. As a result, the focus of our organization is on automation. The automatic downloading of the information so that the foremen don't have to enter it. That would come through engine hours or GPS recognition or biorecognition. As much as we can automate that information getting entered into the system, that is where we're focusing our efforts right now.
Perfect. And Daniel, you've worked alongside Tomlinson for quite some time now. How has it been from your perspective in terms of user adoption?
Well, I would start by saying Fiori is definitely a great user interface or user experience. It's designed to save keystrokes, simplify data entry, streamline processes, as well as provide information-rich analytics to help monitor KPIs. But to Christopher's point, there's more that we can do than just the UI. So Fiori is great, but I go back to what you were saying earlier, Sandra, about robotic process automation, reducing manual data input, leveraging RPA, IoT, as Christopher mentioned, connecting their heavy equipment like a dozer to record its engine hours directly into SAP, as opposed to a foreman on a site saying, this dozer ran for 6 hours, so those costs get billed to this project. connecting everything together. And it is the way that we are headed. So system to system integration, device to system integration, machine learning, all of those things. And the goal really is to free end users up from the mundane tasks and the data entry and allow them to use the time for more value added activities. So that is, we continue to strive at Tomlinson, is to find ways to reduce manual data tasks wherever possible.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm just looking at the time, we have 5 minutes left. I've seen a couple audience questions come in. Before I jump to those, I have one last question for Christopher, and I'll ask all three of you to stay on afterwards for the audience questions as well. Christopher, so we have really seen small and mid-sized businesses be the most impacted over the last year and a half due to the pandemic. As a very tenured CFO, what advice would you give to the mid-sized business leader?
We've spent a great deal of effort looking forward, developing pessimistic, likely, and optimistic scenarios. I'm a big believer in if you plan for the worst, the best will always happen. And that's actually what we've experienced. We leveraged our financing capabilities for the worst case scenario, and that didn't happen. We continued on with our business lives and actually had a very successful year in spite of the dire global situation. Looking forward would be my best advice.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple audience questions here. The first one, Sandra, I'm going to give to you. Can you give an example of how technologies like AI and RPA can be used in financial or accounting processes?
Definitely. The first one I'd like to point out is our cash application. So what this application automatically matches incoming payments and outstanding customer invoices. And it really is using SAP's machine learning capabilities, and it learns from what the accountant's past manual actions. It captures much richer detail of the customer, country-specific behavior without the cost of manually defining detailed rules. And as the accountant fixes, let's say, the anomalies that come in, the application actually learns from that. So the next time you're running that based on this rule-based engine and intelligence, it learns from that, and it will automatically do the matching. Another one I'd like to highlight that's great is machine learning in relation to our GIR reconciliation. So when you're creating purchase orders, you have a certain number of items. Of course, you only want to match and pay with something that actually got delivered. So machine learning functionalities, or intelligent accounting, matches the information in order to find any deviations in them. And if a deviation is determined, it identifies the root cause, including probability of that root cause. So, of course, this not only increases the accuracy and efficiency of financial closing. We know in the past how arduous GIR could be, but it saves the employees a lot of time going through different kinds of documents, finding mismatches, and therefore ultimately supports the end user in decision making.
Perfect, thank you. And I'm going to squeeze in one more question here. So for Daniel or Christopher, what security and privacy measures were taken during your transition from your old ERP to S4? And I know this is a big question for 1 minute, but if you could just give us a high level, that would be great.
You want me to go for this one, Christopher?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, so our security really is designed around job roles based on what are the tasks people do. So SAP delivers these libraries of these standard job roles, and then typically those get sort of personalized. So every person, when they log into a system, gets access to what they need based on their job role, and that allows for proper segregation of duties. In addition to that, I mean, one of the big strengths of SAP is the auditability of everything that's done in the system. You know, who did what, when, what data value was changed, who entered what. So troubleshooting problems with, is a lot easier when you have the proper information security. And then in addition to the inside SAP, I think it's very important you look at your network security, especially as you integrate mobile devices and external partners to ensure that only the right people have access to your data.
Perfect, thank you. Well, we are at 2 o'clock, so huge thank you to Christopher, Daniel, and Sandra for joining us today. And I'd also like to thank FEI for their partnership on this event. I hope in the audience today that we're not only able to demonstrate the value of S/4HANA Finance and Risk, but also we can potentially help to expand that conversation of what a finance transformation might mean for your organization. So please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Sandra, or your SAP account executive for more information or for a discussion on how this can impact your organization. And with that, thank you. And Muriel, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Jillian. Thanks, Sandra, Dave, and Chris for your time and insights today. On behalf of FEI Canada members and guests, we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise with us today. To our attendees, you're going to get a short online survey by email following this webinar. So we'd really appreciate if you could take a moment and complete the evaluation. We value the feedback and we will strive to incorporate your suggestions into our future events. So thanks everyone for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day. Be well and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.